Welcome. And today I have a really special guest, Alan Collins, who I fell in love with when we both did speaker school together, Brandon Godor's speaker school in May, I believe. And I got to know Alan and his background, and I really wanted to bring him on to the podcast. He has so much to offer. First, Alan is a business owner, a speaker, and a long-term man in recovery. He has built his multiple supplement build company, his multiple supplement company called Hollow Labs, and he is very much into giving back. I am going to let him tell you his story because it would not do his story justice if I say anything more. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate it. And yeah, it was an amazing experience at the speaker school. And you know how many people I've told about you since that? I said, you can't believe this woman. She's 82 years old. She's up there speaking in front of a room full of people. You know, when most people are like I was telling you, most people that are unwinding at that age, you're just getting started. So it's super inspiring. So it was great to meet you, and I'm grateful to be here.
You're very welcome. I feel the same way. So, Alan, let's pull the curtain back and take a look at where you've been, how you got into drugs, I believe, and what that meant to you, how you went through it. Because today there is so much talk about drugs, and so many young people are on it that I think it's a very relevant topic for everyone.
Yeah. So first thing I'll say about that is when I first got clean 12 years ago, I was embarrassed of my past and I wanted to hide it from people. And over the years I've learned to embrace it. And I'm actually grateful to say that I'm an ex-heroin addict because it's given me the life that I have now. And if I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't have been as resilient. I wouldn't be able to deal with adversity the way that I do now. And it's really given me a life of purpose because now what I do is I'm able to give back to other men who have been where I was. So it probably sounds strange hearing somebody say that they're grateful to have been a heroin addict, but it gives me a clear cut purpose when I feel like a lot of people struggle with what their actual purpose is. For me, it's kind of obvious, you know. So I guess I'll get right into it. So as a kid, I was very awkward, never felt comfortable anywhere, always felt, like uncomfortable in my own skin, felt like nobody liked me. And I don't know if that was the truth or if that was just like a mental, disorder that I had as a kid. And we were very, low income. We were very poor when I was young, so we moved around a lot, didn't have a lot. And I guess that was probably why I felt like I didn't really have any friends because we were moving from place to place and I had to meet new kids. Even though it was in the same town, it was a big town and it was different neighborhoods. So I guess I was always in trouble in school, constantly. I was constantly in the principal's office, um, after school detention, in school suspension. I was suspended constantly. They were always calling my mother to come pick me up, or Alan did this, Alan did that. And I feel like that was just, looking back, was probably just like a cry for attention. So fast forward a bit, I first got into drugs when I was about 15, started with, pot and alcohol, just like everybody else starts. And it quickly turned to heroin. When I was about 15, 16, my father left, my parents split up, and my mother was working double shifts as a nurse, trying to get by. And I pretty much had free reign to do whatever I want. And like I said, that quickly went from like cocaine to pills straight into heroin. And the first time I did heroin, I got very sick, was throwing up, and I remember thinking, "This is the answer to all my problems." Right? Like this is I finally felt comfortable in my own skin.
Mm.
It was from this drug that eventually, ended up ruining my life and put me to where I am now. But so yeah, started heroin when I was 16, and by the time I was 18, I was in my first rehab already. because I was intravenous using, and it got pretty bad. I'd been arrested a couple times, and I had just had my first daughter. So I got my girlfriend pregnant when I was 17. 18, she was born. 18, I'm in my first rehab. And between 18 and 29, it was just a whirlwind of just chaos and absolute hell and misery. So I can't tell you how many times I've been arrested. I can't tell you how many rehabs I've been to, couple halfway houses, couple three-quarter houses. But it was very dark and just a lot of hopeless years. And a lot of the times I wish that I would just die because there was no happiness, there was no light, no purpose. Um, so much happened in that time. I can't even, like, it would take hours for me to sit down and talk about all the things that happened. I don't really like to talk about a lot of the war stories, but what I will say is during that 11 years that I was trying to get clean, the one thing that I had going for me was that I had a daughter, right? And from 18 to 29, I was not around. So a little bit in the beginning, but for the most part, her first 11 years was either dad not around or dad around, but dad not really present. I remember when she was about 8, maybe 7. This is probably one of the last times I was with her before I actually got clean. She was 7, and I was so messed up. She had to help pick me up off the floor, and this was a 6, 7-year-old child. So she was the one, like, guiding light, the one thing that probably stopped me from actually killing myself, knowing that, like, I had this daughter out here and, she needs me, she needs her dad, so I remember, like, every single time I went to rehab, I would cry in the shower because I couldn't cry in front of other people, and that was the only place that I had to myself. So every single time I went to rehab, I would just let it all out in the shower, and it was because I had my daughter out there who was, like, waiting for me, hoping that I would probably come back into her life. It was a rough, even when I did get clean, we had a rough relationship for a long time. Now we have a great relationship. She's 23, and it took, like I said, it took a long time for her to, I guess, forgive me. She probably still has some resentment in there, some deep resentment, as we all kind of hold on to some in every situation that we go through, but it's been great. She, like I said, she's 23. She's amazing. She's the most resilient person I've ever met. She pretty much had no chance. Her mother struggles. I struggled. Both of our families full of addicts and alcoholics,
Yeah,
and she's just not. She's like the 1% that watched what her family did. Instead of becoming what her family became, she learned from it and kind of steered away from it. So she doesn't really, I don't think she drinks at all, actually. Doesn't use drugs. She doesn't do any of that. And it's been amazing to, like, watch her grow and obviously be clean through it all, and how amazing for her, how amazing for her to see her dad go from just a complete degenerate, just drug addict, alcoholic, criminal, thief, and watch me turn my life around and actually build something worth having, So it's as rough as it was for her. I think she got to witness something that most children don't get to witness their parents achieve.
right.
So
Wow.
I mean, that's kind of the fast track.
Yeah. So, you went to rehab a number of times. You got clean, and then what? How did you fall off the wagon, so to speak? How many times did you fall off the wagon?
I don't even know. It's countless. I'll talk about a few times. So I first got clean when I was 20, like, actually clean. I stayed clean for, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, and I was still miserable. I was more miserable because I didn't deal with any of the issues. Like, they say that drugs is just like it's a solution, but then the drug becomes the problem.
Right,
So
right,
it's a solution to the problem that you have, but then it becomes its own problem, and then you still have the problem that you had before you used the drugs. So I didn't deal with anything. I was just clean. They have a term, dry drunk, somebody who's, like, sober or clean, but they're just miserable. You know what I mean? They don't have their drug of choice to, um, I guess, fix the issue that they're having.
right.
So I got clean when I was 20, stayed clean for a little bit, and it started back up with smoking weed. Then it turned to drinking, and then somebody offered me a pill. took that pill, and before I knew it, back on heroin. So that's pretty much how it goes for most people when they get clean and they relapse. Is it's a progression. It's a progression.
So if you get clean and you go through a program, I'm going to guess that they teach you willpower or walk away or I don't know, um, to help you, or they give you a laundry list of ways to not fall off the wagon again. And is it because you go through a program, you get clean, but you don't really resolve the underlying problems that probably got you into addiction in the first place?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, there's multiple layers. I think that's like the main part of it. But I think the other part of it is that I was 20 years old. I knew everything. I don't want to hear anybody had to tell me. So I also wasn't taking advice. I didn't do anything they told me to do. I went home and I just didn't use. I didn't go to meetings, didn't get a sponsor, didn't go to therapy. I did one thing. I didn't surround I got away from the people who were using at least, but that's the only thing I did do. And that's probably why I lasted for, a year and a half or whatever it was. But yeah, it's like I didn't deal with my trauma and I didn't take suggestions and I didn't ask for help.
So, what was the turning point where you did ask for help? Where maybe you had gone to rehab and, fell off the wagon, went to rehab, fell off the wagon, went to rehab. It was like a dance.
Yeah.
Um, when did you finally say, enough? I'm going to do it this time and I'm going to walk in a new direction.
Yeah, so I was 29 and I'll be honest, I was forced into rehab. I had no intentions on getting clean. I did not want to get clean. I think I wanted to get clean, but I just didn't think it was a possibility. So I had been arrested 5 times in 6 months, and basically the judge, he said, "You got 2 options. You go to prison or you go to rehab." I said, "I'll take rehab." So I did a 30-day rehab facility where they detox you, and then you go through a 30-day program. And then, I knew if I left after that 30 days I was using, prison looming over my head or not, it didn't matter. The desire to use was so powerful in my body and my brain at the time. I knew that if I left, I was using. So I actually asked to be put into a halfway house because when I got clean when I was 20, I went to a halfway house and that worked for a little bit. So I went to a halfway house in Long Branch. It's called Phillip House, and I did 6 months there, and that's when things started to change. My counselor was great. I actually opened up to him a little bit. He got me into journaling, and journaling allowed me a healthy outlet to put all the chaos that was in my brain, and I transferred it to a piece of paper. And I wish I had those journals today because that
Oh,
that would be a fun read.
yeah.
That would be a fun read.
Well,
But yeah, I started taking advice. I don't know what it was that it wasn't like I don't know why. I ask myself even this day, like, God, why me? Why not all the like? Well, I have a lot of my old friends are either dead or in prison or still out there using. And like I said, I'm 12 years clean, and I still ask occasionally, like, why was I chosen out of all these people? Like, why was the desire to use removed from me and not removed from anybody else? And this is why I do the work that I do, because I feel like God chose me as like a vessel to send this message that the recovery is possible and that you can change your life. So I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think I'll ever know. I'll probably die not knowing. I'm not gonna keep questioning it. But I don't really know. I took advice. I got around the right people, and I told this story on Dave's podcast, and for the first 6 months of being clean, I remember waking up every day thinking, do I want to get high today or do I want to kill myself today?
mm,
And what I kept telling myself was like, I'm not going to do it today. What they teach you is that like just for today, you're not going to use, just for today, you're not going to do this, maybe tomorrow. And you kind of like trick yourself into just getting through that day. And I remember waking up one day, I was about 6 months clean, and I was like, "Oh, man, I don't wanna kill myself or get high today." And I started crying, and I remember that was, like, the first time in my life that I thought maybe it was possible that I can get clean, right? Because there's just that one day, you know? And, I never looked back. I did another 6-month program after that, which was, it's a three-quarter house. It's kind of like a transitional housing. So I was living in, like, in and around addicts for the first year of being clean, and I believe that's what it allows me to be here today because I didn't rush it. It was like 13 years of misery, and it took some time for me to, kinda, like, deprogram myself from that, and I'm still, like, working on myself, but it took time to really break out of those, like, bad habits and that, like, bad mental space.
Probably the same as, you know, an alcoholic. They don't drink, never. One drink can set
Yeah,
people back. And, I'm going to guess it's the same thing that one something, whatever it is, could then set you back. So, for you, clean is clean
yeah.
on all levels.
Well, they have a saying, and they say, "One is too many, a thousand's never enough." And that surfaces today for me in, like, cookies and pizza. Like, I'm still an addict, and it's like I have a sweet tooth, and that's my downfall. I love sweets. I love pizza and, like, chicken parm, like, now, like, food, and look, I've eat very clean. I take good care of myself, but it's one of those things, like, once I put one of those things in my body, my brain just kinda goes haywire, and I just find myself back grabbing for more, and I have to try to, like, catch myself, and sometimes I win, sometimes I lose.
So you are, from what I see and what I've seen online, you're a bodybuilder. Y or you've
Well,
done or you run, you take very good care of your body, like, today it's your temple almost.
mm, yeah, that's been the most important thing. In the 12 years, I've done many things to keep myself clean and on this right path, personal development, therapy, stuff like that. But the one thing that's always been constant is the training. I've always worked out, and I've always taken care of myself from, like, a nutritional perspective. And that's part of what we teach these guys too, is that, you can get clean, and there are some people that they just get clean and that's it. That's all they do. And they neglect the physical part and the mental part and, like, the nutritional part. And I think it's all important, right? It all plays a part. And I think, for me, getting into training and lifting when I first got clean, just like the journaling, it was a positive way for me to get out. Like, look, I was angry. I had so much rage when I first got clean. If I didn't put it into the gym, I was taking it out on somebody else.
Mhm,
I was taking it out on myself. So
mhm.
I've built my life on training and nutrition, and now it's my career. Like, I own supplement stores, I own a supplement brand, and it's like it's ingrained in everything that I do. And that's like I'm that guy. Like, I'm that guy. And if anybody I know has any questions about training, supplements, nutrition, I'm the person they call. Recovery too.
Wow.
But it's so important. I think that gets missed a lot in rehab facilities. Because when I was there, I was like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and just there was no health food. I don't know if it's
Right.
like that today, but I can imagine it's not great, because the funding is,
Mhm.
it's
Right.
expensive to eat healthy, you know.
So, talk to us about how you give back. I know that you go out and talk to different organizations, people that are recovering addicts.
Yeah, so we do this really cool program. Me and my brother-in-law Curtis, we have this program. It's called Pain Into Purpose. And this started 4 years ago. We were invited to speak at the guys at the Rescue Mission of Trenton. And it started out as a 2-hour rambling session from me and Curtis, where we were stuttering, sweating, and shaking. And we've kind of, like, I don't want to say perfected, but we've got it to a point where now it's a 5.5-hour workshop. And what we do is we basically we just explain to the guys like where we came from, how we got to where we are today, and it's like an entrepreneurial slash recovery workshop where we have the guys come up in front of the class, give like a 2-minute introduction so we can kind of learn a little bit about them and where they've been. We have them do a vision board because I think it's important to have a visual of where you want your life to be and some things that you want to I guess achieve and accomplish. And in the beginning, like, look, material things for them, it's cars, houses, like women, boats, which is fine. Like, hey, like we all want to have nice things, right? And what we do is we have them leave a corner, the bottom right corner, open, and what they put in there is like what they're willing to sacrifice to achieve those things and to live that life that they want to have. So then, me and Curtis will tell a little bit about our story, and we'll tell about what we did when we first got clean, like things that they can implement at the facility level to start building like positive habits and rituals and things like that that will carry over into when they leave. Because when me and Curtis got clean, like my personal development journey started in the halfway house.
Mhm.
I was waking up early, I was exercising, I was journaling. So that was the beginning of it for me. And then what we do, we added this to the most recent presentation, and we have what we call a breakout group. So we break the guys into smaller groups, and then we have a couple questions that we ask them, some like more deep, like thought-provoking questions to help get them vulnerable. And that was my favorite part because these guys really opened up. And for me, a big part of why I've been able to stay clean is that I've had people that I can confide in and like open up and get vulnerable and share about some of the things that have happened to me, because you keep that stuff inside and it eats you
Right,
alive. It eats
right.
you alive. So yeah, the presentation, it's amazing. I would have said that a couple of years ago, but we've built it into something that I'm so proud of.
Mhm.
Now we're bringing it into other facilities where for the first 4 years, we just did it at the rescue mission. So now we're branching out, trying to get it into some other facilities. And we have some other programs we're working on, like some day retreats where we take the guys in the woods. We do cold plunging, hiking, exercising. We'll cook like healthy meals over the fire just to like get them in nature, get them outside and kind of experience another part of life that they probably have never experienced before.
And what about young kids, high school, junior high school, um, reaching those kids that are probably the most vulnerable today, and, you know, talking to them and maybe finding out where they got started, I'm sure why they got started, which is probably the same as you.
Right.
That, my sense is, being a coach, um, when people have pain, really wounds, traumas, pain, they 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 take the easy way out, which is at the end, not the easy way out. But, they turn to an addiction, gambling, drugs, alcohol, shopping, whatever it is, to relieve the pain instead of opening the door to the most uninvited guest of all, which is pain and discomfort, and looking at it and really confronting it and not looking at it as a foe, but as a friend that's come there to help you look at where your pain is and help you create another path for yourself, if you will.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. We're actually working with Carl and Solana. We're gonna be working with them and trying to bring our program. It's gonna be an edited version for the kids, but we're trying to bring our program into schools. So I'm going. I think in 2 weeks, I'm going to speak to some kids with Carl and Solana
Right.
first time, and I'm actually more nervous to talk to the kids than I am to talk to the adults. I don't know why. It's I guess because they're probably so they're so, what's the word I'm looking for? Influenced at that age.
Right.
So I
Right.
gotta be careful with, the things that I say and the way I speak. So, but I'm excited. I'm really excited because I think if little Alan, right, if like me as a child had somebody like me who came in and could
Right.
relate,
Right.
I think that could have been life changing,
Right.
So I think it's it's like a serious I think it's a serious thing that we're going to do. So yeah, in a couple weeks I'm going with them. And
Yes, right, to their
yeah,
school.
I'm really
Yeah,
excited. Yeah,
yeah,
because
that's great.
when you impact a child's life, there's no better reward than that, really, you know?
Absolutely, especially if you can get them and in those years where they turn to drugs, whatever form of drug there is. Their friends are doing it, they don't wanna be left behind. They are so vulnerable in junior high school, in high school, and especially with social media that I think those are influences for kids.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, these are teenagers too, so that's
Right.
it's like at that age where they're, either starting to or they have maybe tried some things, like weed and stuff like that. And yeah, it's important.
But, I think that they start with weed and, "Oh, that's no big deal," and, a little bit of it isn't a big deal,
Mm,
but it's like anything else. When you rely on something to help mask your pain, then it becomes an issue.
yeah. Yeah. You just self-medicating. And like you said before, it could be anything, you know, weed, alcohol, shopping, gambling, sex, there's so many things that I feel like we all kind of have our little vices, you know?
Oh, wow. So, your recovery, you're out there really giving back in so many wonderful ways. You've created this business of health supplements and everything else that you're doing. And you said so much. What might be one or two tidbits that you can share with our audience about getting started, not getting started, and just for them to take away today?
Yeah. So even if you're not like struggling with a vice or trying to get clean or kick something, I think the most important thing, and this can apply to anybody, especially myself, is having like healthy habits, developing some healthy habits, getting quality sleep, not getting on your phone first thing in the morning, not being on your phone as soon as you go to bed. I have this like my phone is like my arch nemesis. Like running multiple businesses, I've got to be on my phone all day long. And what I've had to do is actually I have a flip phone because in order for me not to be, I feel like there's this magnet in my phone that draws me to it when it's on. So
Right.
I've got to turn it off at certain times at night. And what I do is I turn my iPhone off and I turn my flip phone on. So my family has my flip phone number in case they need to get a hold of me. And that's the only thing that gives me any peace from my cell phone because it basically runs my life. So
Mhm.
I can't be present if my phone is around, if it's on. So in order for me to get like good quality time with my daughter and my family, I have to turn my phone off. So that's one of the habits that I've kind of developed and stuck to over the last year or so. But it's waking up early. I do a lot of meditation. I read. I create time and space for myself that's quiet, and I think a lot of people are missing that. And we're constantly stimulated, right? And I think that's why everybody is so like lost and depressed and anxious and they don't really know what to do. I think the hardest thing for people to do is nothing, right? Like you ask somebody to just sit still for 5 minutes, don't touch your phone, don't do anything, just sit for 5 minutes. It's
Right.
difficult, but I think it's important to practice that. So when you go about your day, you can be present and focus on the people that you're with when you're with them and not be, so scatterbrained or needing stimulation, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Certainly talk about an addiction. Our phone is an addiction.
Yes.
It's an
One.
addiction. And I don't people don't see it. It's like it's part of their arm or their leg. And um one of the areas I work on is mastery of life, is helping people disengage the feeding frenzy of the mind
Mm,
from being the dog. You know, you wanna tame the dog, which is your mind, but the dog tames you,
mm,
and by going to the phone, it's like automatic. It's like breathing
mm.
these days, and I used to do that, and, I listened to this amazing Shaolin monk, um, Shi Heng Yi. He one meditation I just was crazy over, but I get up like you, I have my water, and I meditate. I don't go to my phone. I don't go to my phone. I meditate, I get done what I need to, and then I get my day in order. And I think that we're all exhausted from how much time we have this addiction for. You're walking in the street. I live in New York City. People are crossing the street, not even looking.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what it's become. Like you've got this needle hooked up to your arm. On the other end of it is your phone.
Yeah. I don't think our monkey brains, are wired for all the stimulation we get.
But yes, that's exactly right. And then we're exhausted. Well,
Yeah.
we're exhausted from all of the work we do and the stimulation that comes in. And I think that's wonderful to remind people that it runs you.
Mm.
That phone runs you instead of you being the master of your life. Your mind is the master of your life and that phone.
Yep. Are you familiar with Joe Dispenza?
Yes, I listen to him every morning.
Good. Awesome. Yeah, because he has a similar thing when he talks about the dog. Like, no, I know you're hungry, but you're gonna sit there no matter what. Yeah, and I love how he talks about I love when he talks about how any change, even if it's a good change, is uncomfortable, and like we're more comfortable in our misery
Right,
because it's familiar and we know what to expect. But like
right,
change and just sitting there in silence would be the change. It's scary because we don't know what to expect.
right.
He's completely changed my life. I read a couple
Yes,
books. His meditations are amazing too. He makes
yes,
them like they're fun, you know.
right.
They're some of them are fun and they're upbeat, you know, so it's not just, boring, almost falling asleep meditation. He's amazing. I want to get to one of his retreats at some point.
Mm, wow. Yes, I do. Him and Shi Heng Yi. He's a Shaolin monk. I have a couple of his that are absolutely have blown me away. So, everyone that's listened, I hope your takeaway has been A, if you feel the need to do something, stop and get help, especially young people. And the other part is don't make your phone an addiction,
Mm.
for sure. Alan, I've been so looking forward to this, really. You When we did the speaker school, you and Curtis just truly blew me away. And I was so impressed that I said, okay, this has got to happen. So, again, thank you so much for taking the time to tell us about your life and what you've done and what you're doing now to give back. I truly appreciate it.
Likewise, thank you. I'm grateful to be here, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care, Alan. Be well.